Do you want to get your business seen on the big screen? Have more eyes see who you are? Is your budget holding you back, keeping you from advertising your business? Maybe it's time you contacted Crossroads TV. Inexpensive 10-day campaign, pinpoint accuracy for demographics and geography, and the ability to select some or all of their partnered streaming services. Call us, 207-453-9895.
Good evening, everybody. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. There are agendas available on the table near the entrance or online at the city website. Consent agendas items are routine items in nature. Hey, focus. Thank you. Unfinished business or new business items are voted on separately. Councilors will be given an opportunity for questions or comments, followed by citizens who must speak at the podium and identify themselves. Citizens will be allowed to speak one time per agenda item for up to 3 minutes. Citizens who do wish to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda will have the opportunity to do so during the public comment section of the agenda for up to 3 minutes. This evening, I did want to just point out we are currently at quorum. Councilor at the State House joining us for as long as she can. As soon as she steps away, the meeting would end. At this point, I would like to entertain a motion, if the council, to any remaining agenda items that we do not get to this evening, that we move to a special meeting to be held on Thursday, June 26th at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, and can I get a roll call, please?
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Fabio DeBrito, too.
Oh, okay. Counselor Herard?
Yes.
Counselor Kriegbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
No.
Yes. Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so we will begin tonight's agenda with a public hearing for the Washington Heights Municipal TIF District and Development Program. So with that, I will open up the public hearing for that item. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak with regard to the Washington Heights Tax Increment Financing District Development Program?
Mayor, do you want a brief
Sure,
review of what?
please.
So the The Washington Heights project is a 56-unit apartment complex to be built on a 3.25 acre parcel. Total project costs are $15 million. The developers are John Jabber Sr. and John Jabber III. These will be market rate apartments built in 2 phases. The planning board has approved the first phase of 28 units. The second phase will require Maine Department of Environmental Protection review due to the amount of impervious area. The TIF district is proposed for a 30-year term, but the credit enhancement agreement with the city will share property taxes for 25 years. The city will return 100% of the taxes for the first 4 years, 90% for years 5 to 14, and 25% for years 15 to 25. Years 26 to 30, the city will retain 100% of the taxes.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate the recap. Yes, please.
Good evening. I'm Reagan LaRochelle. I was the TIF consultant for this project. I just wanted to clarify the tax reimbursement, and I'm hoping that the city manager will agree to this, but we had previously discussed 100% for years 1 through 4, 90% for years 5 through 15, and then 16 through 20 was the 25%. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from the public with regard to this TIF proposal? Any counselors? Yes.
Well, I have an email from a constituent that I'd like to read.
Perfect. Thank you.
I have heard from a number of constituents with some concerns, so I thought it was important to raise them. And so I think this particular email summarizes it very well. My concern regarding this TIF application is about the terms of the TIF. 100% return for 4 years, followed by 90% return from year 5 to 15 seems to be far beyond what has been granted in other TIFs. To me, this means that the taxpayers of Waterville are subsidizing this private construction project, which is offering little benefit other than the potential of, at first, 28 housing units with the potential of a total of 56 units. It looks like the units will be rented at market rate without any provision for a percentage of the units being reserved for workforce rental rates or any kind of subsidized rental rates. 15 Washington Heights LLC is not rehabbing a distressed property which would benefit the city. Their statement that their financing depends on the city granting this TIF at the requested rate makes me wonder about their financial abilities to complete the project as planned. Does granting this TIF at the requested rate set a standard for future TIF requests? I would ask the council to be cautious about granting this TIF request with the proposed rates of property tax return.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Mayor, could I ask, Reagan? Yeah, looking at the revenue projection in the application, it's what I had said. Are you?
The one that I had emailed you after we had spoken with your TIF attorney, Jim Safian, was the one that I have here, which is that shows the line item at 15. So I had, you had, I don't know which one you're looking at.
I'm looking at the 6/5/25.
Right. So, I mean, I believe can I come over and?
Oh, yeah, sure. Just want to get it right.
Is this the same one? So, 15, right, so.
Oh, year 15 is 90%?
Yes.
Oh, okay, and that's the only change you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes, it's right in the packet. I just,
Okay.
had it wrong in my memo. Sorry about that.
Okay.
And can I respond to the constituent
course.
email? I think I agree that this has not been what has typically been the reimbursement for Waterville TIFs, and that's an important standard to keep in mind when you're looking at TIF districts. I think we've also discussed that we're in a very different climate right now in terms of building, and also the fact that the other units have not been approved, and the need for the infrastructure that's going to be going into this project with the water and sewer going up Washington Street, the removal of the fill that's on that vacant site at this point, and the buffering of, I believe it was 200 trees that need to be planted around that site. I mean, there are some significant upfront costs that the developer is trying to account for. I think the city manager had requested a letter from the lender for this project, and I don't know if you got that because we kind of got it in at the last minute. So, that is an indication that this credit enhancement agreement is critical for the project to move forward. So every project's different. It is hard to be able to compare them over years and types of projects, but in this instance, I think my clients have worked really hard to try and make this work for everybody, and so we're hoping we're going to be able to bring this housing to Waterville, where it's very sorely needed. Thank you.
I don't know if we want to get into counselor discussions now, or,
No, this is the public hearing, for the public, so I think
mean,
if we get to we probably get to it later, I guess.
yeah.
It is on the agenda tonight, so.
Okay, so you want to wait?
We can, it's up to you. If
No,
you want to
it's
make a
actually up
comment,
to
go ahead. All right. Feel free.
I guess I'll respond on the question of the letter. The letter did not read to me as it was represented, that this is absolutely the only way that funding will be provided. So I would ask, my request is that we do a little more discussion. We're in the midst of a budget process that highlights the need for services, and that is funded by taxes. So we're bringing in, this project will bring in more people with no tax return for the first 4 years. That's a long time. And I guess my other concern is that phase 2 hasn't been approved yet. I would love to see this project happen, but it has to be done right, and it has to benefit the taxpayers as well as the developer. Yes, we need housing. Housing is needed everywhere. And we do have projects that are in the works, but this is, it's a market rate project. I think for me to support this, we have to work a little harder on tuning up the agreement so that Waterville will see some tax money coming in sooner than 4 years.
If this doesn't work as far as like the TIF, does that mean the project doesn't happen? Does that mean it's done? It's done. So instead of, kind of investing in Waterville on a junk dump lot, we have people that want to, build, nice, condos in the city of Waterville. Obviously, it has to be advantageous for both parties, but I'm not going to begrudge a developer. They want to make money. Making money is not a bad thing. So that's where I am.
So, from my perspective on this, I think that if this was a greenfield lot that houses could be built on with no effort, it already had water, sewer, everything hooked up and ready to go, we'd be looking at maybe this being disadvantageous for the city because we're depriving them having the tax return for however many, for the first 4 years, and then in reality for far beyond that because we're only going to be getting like 10%. But since this is a junk lot for all intent and purpose, it's just fill, and they're doing public service in the routing of water and sewer and everything all through that, which is a huge upfront cost. We're not going to get taxes off that lot anyways. Like, it's just going to, it's fill. We're going to get nothing from it. It's not worth a whole lot right now. But what we're looking at is in 5 years, and then in 20 years or however long, we're looking at getting substantially more taxes out of this. This is more of an investment for taxes in the future than it is a get taxes now kind of strategy. At least that's how I view it. So I think this is a good thing, because if nothing else, that lot's going to be nothing. It's just going to be fill.
I will add to that, and while I do understand the long-term aspect of it, what happens in the short term is 56 units at a minimum of 2 people in each unit is 112 people that now move to the city that would require services that are not being funded by the increase of the people and funded by the people that currently live here. So that's my only.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So you're right. We're not going to get any new taxes, but we're not going to see any additional calls for service or costs in that neck of the woods either. So.
Yeah, correct.
You know, so that's why.
I want to be clear.
What Councilor Green's saying is that, you know, like, listen, at 4 years at no income being returned to the city for potential use of, you know, the services, that's a concern.
Absolutely, and I want to acknowledge that
Sure.
is absolutely the case.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the
Yeah.
long-term investment, I think, is worth that.
Sure. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay. I will go ahead and close the public hearing. First up is Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up, disclosure of conflict of interest. Any counselors have any conflict of interest on any of the votes that they will take this evening? Okay, seeing none, I will move on to the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
The Ward 6 councilor election will be held next Tuesday right here in the annex. Polls are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The Impact Task Force meets tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and we're going to meet at the fire station. City Hall will be closed on Thursday in recognition of Juneteenth Day. The Harold Alfond Outdoor Municipal Pool opens this Saturday, June 21st. Base course paving has been done on Burley Street and Averill Terrace. Concrete curbing and sidewalk paving is next. Final pavement, loam, and seeding will be completed in the next 3 weeks. Then they'll move on to Park Street and Mora Court for paving. The city's annual employee luncheon will be next Thursday, June 26. City Hall will close at 11:30 and reopen at 1 o'clock. And the Quarry Road Summer Race Series begins tonight and runs each Tuesday through August 12th. And for more information on that, you can go to quarryroad.org. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I did want to take a moment to read a proclamation. Whereas Juneteenth is celebrated on June 19th, marks the day in 1865 when the last enslaved African Americans in the United States were informed of their freedom, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Whereas this day represents a pivotal moment in our nation's history, symbolizing the end of slavery and the ongoing struggle for civil rights and social justice. And whereas Juneteenth serves as a reminder of the resilient strength and contributions of African Americans throughout history and encourages us to reflect on progress made and the work that lies ahead in our pursuit of equality for all. Whereas the City of Waterville is committed to fostering an inclusive community that embraces diversity, promotes understanding among all of its residents, and whereas it is vital for us to recognize and celebrate the rich heritage and culture of African Americans, who also acknowledging the challenges that remain in achieving true equality. Now, therefore, I, Michael Morris, as the Mayor of Waterville, on behalf of the City Council and the residents of Waterville, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2025 as Juneteenth Day. In Waterville, I call upon all citizens to reflect on our shared history, celebrate the progress we made, and commit to the work that is still needed to achieve true equality for all. Thank you. Moving on to councilor comments and/or committee reports. Any councilors have any? Okay. I do want to just mention one thing. This morning, I received a series of text messages or instant messages on Facebook that were threatening. I reached out to the police department simply just as an FYI. I was told relatively quickly that these are a concern, so all of a sudden I was heightened, and certainly in wake of things that happened in Minnesota. I am happy to say that the police did a great job. They found the person that sent the messages. He has been arrested and is, I guess, in Augusta now or on his way. And so we're good. So I want to just say thank you to everybody that responded relatively quickly. At no point did I feel threatened at all. My son was at home, and they offered to drive around the house a few times, make sure everything was good. And so again, I'm very appreciative of everything and disposing of that issue relatively quickly. So thank you. All right, I will open it up now to public comments. Anybody from the public have a comment that they wish to make on any item that is not currently on this evening's agenda? Ma'am.
Karen Heck. Is this on?
Yeah.
Karen Heck, Ward 6.
Good evening.
I appreciate the proclamation. And I just wanted you to know that Indivisible Mid-Maine, thanks to Elizabeth Leonard, will be having a Juneteenth celebration at Pine Grove Cemetery, where one of our earliest African-American families is buried. Samuel Osborne and his wife Maria were both born in slavery in Virginia, but after the Civil War they moved to Waterville, and he became a janitor at Colby, raised their 7 children, the last one of whom died in 1968, after having been a teacher in our public school system and then a bookkeeper. Another daughter was the first African-American woman to graduate from Colby after attending Waterville High. And for decades, the Osbornes owned a house at 5 Ash Street, and the entire family is buried at Pine Grove Cemetery. We'll gather to honor them and acknowledge that Juneteenth and the history of slavery, emancipation, and emancipation's complicated aftermath all have meeting right here in Waterville. So it's at Pine Grove, and it's from 10 to 11. And we hope, and I think you're reading something, you're going to be there?
Yes.
I think it's important at a time when the current administration is trying to erase history that's not white, that we acknowledge this, and I appreciate your proclamation and encourage everybody to come.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Which day is that?
Juneteenth, the 19th,
Oh, so it's
Thursday.
on, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. On Juneteenth at
10 to
10.
11.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I saw another hand. Thank you.
It's more of a question first. Lori Roy, the rainbow crosswalk that has been painted almost on a yearly basis in front of the library, is that going to be repainted this year? And if so, who covers the cost of that? Where do those funds come from? Because I've gotten mixed answers.
I don't know if it's on the docket to be repainted. I mean, I
Okay.
know they typically do.
Who-
But we can certainly reach
How-
out to Matt.
How is that funded? Like, is that volunteers that pay for the paint and the labor on their own, or does that come out of taxpayer funds?
I'll find out. I'm new, so I'll find out from Matt, and we'll get back to you. Do you know her? Do you have your contact
So
info?
nobody knows who pays for it, just all of us, like,
I believe, well, when we did it the first year, I do believe that, and we didn't use all of the, I believe the paint was donated.
okay.
And I know that there was myself, my wife, we painted it. And I don't know who, I'm assuming Public Works did it last year.
Yeah,
This
Public
is the
Works
second- this
was
is the
doing
second
it
year.
last year.
So, yeah.
So it is coming out of tax money? Because if Public Works is doing it, they're getting paid out of our funds, correct?
Sure.
Okay, so if we don't have enough money, if we have a tax problem to pay for things, how is this justified? Painting a crosswalk, how is that justified when we have money problems as a city?
Well, we paint every crosswalk in the city.
But paint it rainbow?
Are you upset with the rainbow or the painting of crosswalks?
No,
I'm just trying to understand.
I'm upset because one certain thing gets more attention than other things. Are all of the crosswalks repainted every year? No, no, they're not. No, they're not.
I know
But
we
that
stripe-
rainbow one is done every year.
We stripe all spaces, lit the lines in the city, like, so.
So every crosswalk in the city gets repainted every year.
I think that's a pretty nitty-gritty detail, and that we're not, I mean, we're here to vote on resolutions, and we
But
have a
this
news.
isn't- this
we
is an
have-
open comment.
We have, yeah,
And I
no,
had-
that's
Well, I
fine,
mean,
we hear you,
correct.
and I think, you heard our city manager, who is very new, said he will get back to you, I mean, so, yeah.
What ward do you live in?
3.
Okay.
So,
Our contact information, if you have any questions, I encourage you to reach out and we'll try and get answers.
okay,
I know
because
that.
I've asked several different departments in the city, and I've gotten different answers along with hostility every time I have asked the question.
Okay.
And again, here, nobody really has an answer, so it's curious. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a great night. Okay. Anyone else for public comment? Sir?
Hi there. I lost my sheet here. I got a mail today, a letter in the mail today from you guys. My property has gone up 100% since 22. I talk about, I listened to the meetings, the last meeting you guys had, and you know the number one population that is becoming homeless is senior citizens. I plan on living in Waterville. I lived here all my life, except for a small extension when I was in the Coast Guard. What are you guys going to do in another 10 years, 20 years, 10 years if our taxes are going to go up like that? I'm on a fixed income right now. Okay? You've gone up, if I relied on Social Security, almost 50% of my Social Security in the last 3 years. As far, come on, look, and what is all these other people that every time you go up, if people living in apartments, their rent goes up. And how long can they afford that? And I know I've listened to other comments that within, I ditto what they say. We don't need any more taxes. You guys are increasing it anyway because we're getting an evaluation by the state every year. That's going up every year. Waterville's property has not gone up. I look at real estate. Most of the prices are being cut and going down. I do not want to pay for an ambulance service of $136 every 100 mil. For an ambulance service, let the private sector do their business, do their job. When they did this whole thing, I was against it to begin with. I like Nick Isgrove's comment, and I did that also. We don't need to be in the ambulance business. When you go to a lot of these calls, there's two ambulances there. Let the private sector do what they do. I'm just saying, I want to live in Waterville, and I will live in Waterville probably for the rest of my life. And I want to be able to afford it. I don't want to go to welfare when I'm 75, 80 years old looking for a handout. And I don't want to use all my savings. I'd like to go to Florida for 3 months and not have to make that choice. But people got to think about this. Waterville is a city center with 16,000 people. They have 17.8% are over 65 and senior. 25% are in poverty. Come on, people. We need to do better than this. We can't afford everything. We can't have the best town manager. We can't have this. They all got cars. The police departments got cars. They drive home. They didn't even live in Waterville. Park there, give them a car here in Waterville. Let them drive their own here when they're here. And let them use a cruiser that way. Why are we providing everything for everybody? The average income in Waterville is like something like $47,000 median income for a family.
Sir, I'm sorry, 10 seconds. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think you get the gist.
We do. Thank you. No.
It's a good time to mention the difference between valuation.
No, sorry. Anyone else? Sir.
Hi, I'm Joe Roy, Ward 3, and go along with Dominic about the taxes. And I got to tell you, I was in the fire department, retired from Waterville Fire. I was there 25 years on rescue. I was a paramedic, an EMT, and a firefighter. And in my career, we transported only 2 people ourselves, and they were both infants because we couldn't wait for the ambulance. Delta was always there, and they still are around. Echo Dominic and say, let Delta do the transporting. Let them hire the people. You raise our taxes to hire more people in the fire department that they really don't need. There was 21 members of the fire department back when I was there. And now, I don't know, it's 30 some odd, whatever, I don't know, but it's way more than we had, and you need. Give it back to Delta and lower our taxes. Otherwise, we're gonna be in the concourse asking for handouts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment?
I was going to speak when you had a,
Okay.
when you had a meeting.
Sorry, you're fine. You can. Like, you just need to do it at the podium so the people out in the world can hear you.
I'll get my notes.
10-4. Just name and where you live, ma'am.
Okay, Debbie Berthium,
Just what
Ward 2.
Thank you.
Let me just grab my notes, if you would. This is in regards to our taxes doubled. I brought my 2023, 24, and then 24, 25. Our revaluation is double. I'm 70, and I'm still working because I want to eat. Now I'm going to have to stop working part-time and get a full-time job. It's not sustainable. My husband and I are going to have to sell our home. We're not even sure where we're going to go. But we always kept it up. Our home is very nice, but replacement windows on our revaluation says replacement windows, $19.99. They all need to be replaced. We have work that needs to be done at the house. We can't even do it because everything has gone up. It's not just taxes, it's oil, it's everything. So anyways, Flavia reached out to me a while ago, and she asked my opinion on the firemen or the paramedics. And we had a lot of conversation, and we were supposed to meet up on Saturday, but we didn't because of the Minnesota thing. So I sent her my talking points. I said, hi, Flavia, we've gone, this was Sunday, Father's Day. This is from my perspective as a senior, okay? Data, we need more data. It hasn't even been a month that inland has been closed. That's number one. And I know you tabled the paramedics, but it hasn't been a month. And we're pushing to spend more money. I personally and my husband have never had children, and yet we pay school taxes every year, and I think I've been pretty generous, never complained about it. When we decided to recycle, my husband and I went, all right, we'll buy a shed so we can put our garbage and our recycle in. We get taxed on that, and we pay for garbage bags, and we recycle still. You know, it's so accumulative that it's putting somebody that would like to someday, I don't ever get to go to Florida for 3 months. I don't even take a vacation. And yet I'm thinking about going back to work full time. Something has to give because this is not sustainable. It's just not. Delta needs to be a part of this data. Regionalization. I know you guys have talked about regionalization. Come on, folks, let's get with it. We need to do it. Schools and everything else. The classrooms are going down, and yet 52% of my taxes are going to go towards a school education.
10 seconds, ma'am. Thank you.
I have never had children.
Yeah.
That's my point. At any rate, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Anyone else for public comment? Anyone online, folks? Okay. All right, seeing no other public comments, I will move on to consent agenda. Can I please get a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion for consent agenda.
Second?
Second.
And roll call?
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor Green? Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Herard?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to Order 115-2025. Yes.
Motion to read by title only.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Roll call. Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Herard?
Yes.
All right. And again, Order 115-2025.
All right. Authorize the renewal of liquor licenses expiring between July 1st.
Nope, sorry, we're number 7.
Oh. There we go. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
Approval of credit enhancement agreement with Elm Street Rentals.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Second reading for this. Any discussion from any counselors? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, may I please get a roll call?
Roll call. Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Herard?
Yes.
All right. Ordinance 116-2025.
Amend the zoning ordinance, allow mobile homes in all residential zones.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion with regard to this particular item?
So would this allow for single wide trailers to be kind of plopped and on any lot in Waterville?
Maybe Ann could speak to that.
Yeah.
Hi, Ann.
Sorry, I didn't.
I just want to know, so this ordinance, because we did it last week. I just want to see if So any mobile home can be put anywhere in the city of Waterville, is that correct? In residential areas?
In every residential zone where we allow single-family homes, which means all residential zones in Waterville, yes. But that's state law, we're required to do that. So what the planning board proposed to you was to add requirements for mobile homes that that require a pitch roof that is more steep than what you would normally have, and a foundation. And the idea is to make the mobile homes look more like stick-built houses. We're allowed to do that, but the code enforcement officer, director of code enforcement, Dan, who's not here, I think, he's on vacation, he was concerned that by requiring those in the residential B zone, we would be requiring more than what we require in the residential B zone now, meaning that right now you can have a mobile home in the residential B zone without adding the steep pitched roof and the foundation. But he was contacted by a couple of developers who are wanting to build single-family home subdivisions, and the state now requires us to allow single-family home subdivisions with mobile homes. They have to meet the lot size requirements of the zone. So in other words, in the RB zone, for example, they would be required to have 8,500 square feet of land per mobile home, whereas in a mobile home park, there would only be required to have 5,000 square feet. And that's not the language that the planning board sent to you. Dan and I drafted some language just in case one of those developers did come, and I don't know what either of them looks like, so I don't know if they're here or not. But we drafted some language that we thought maybe would help the situation, that we would still require steep pitch roofs and foundations in residential zones in older subdivisions, meaning that the subdivisions currently exist, but they might have vacant lots. So that if you had a vacant lot next to your house and you didn't want a mobile home there, you would the person putting the mobile home there would at least have to put a steep pitched roof on it and put a foundation under it so that it would look more like your house. But that language hasn't been to the planning board. And I would recommend that this go back to the planning board to let the planning board discuss this language, and hopefully at least one of those developers would come to the planning board and comment.
Okay.
This is grandfathering currently existing construction, so they don't have to update their homes,
Oh,
correct?
correct, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is just new mobile homes brought in.
Okay. Does the
Yes.
public, sorry.
Well, yeah. Before you leave the podium, Anne, I guess I'm not exactly clear. The language was added at the request of developers who wanted to be able to build.
Let me say that the language I sent to you,
Yeah,
the other counselors don't have, because this didn't go, the planning board chairman's here, and I'm sure she will say to you, this needs to go back to the planning board. It didn't go to the other
Right.
counselors. I have copies here. My concern was that if the developers showed up at the meeting and asked for a change to the language, you wouldn't
Right.
have language that Dan and I had at least considered.
Well,
So
I would
what you have before you in your packet is exactly what the planning board sent to you.
Yes, I understand that. Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is you're recommending that we send this back to the planning board for further consideration?
Is it further consideration, or is it to add the language for the roofs and the foundation?
So the requirement for the roof and the foundation is already in here. We're talking about removing that possibly for newer subdivisions.
I
So for
understand.
example, one of the developers has a proposal to build a subdivision on Drummond Avenue, and what he wants to do is put in 8 mobile homes there. So the language that you have in front of you, if you vote again, he'll have to put a steep pitched roof on it, and he'll have to put on each of the houses and put them on foundations, which will increase the cost of the housing. So what Dan and I were talking about was leaving the requirement for everything but new subdivisions. And I think Samantha wants to say something.
Good evening, Samantha. How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
So, I think first of all, I want to just clarify, this isn't to add mobile homes everywhere, it's to add manufactured housing.
Correct.
Which doesn't necessarily only mean mobile homes, right? And, we've seen manufactured housing go up all around the state as, apartment buildings, all types of things. So I think that the spirit of the ordinance and the spirit of what was sent to us by the state was to increase the ability so that municipalities couldn't prohibit putting up manufactured housing, right?
Could I interject something? We already allow manufactured housing in Waterville.
Yeah.
There's other towns that don't, that the state was concerned about.
Right.
So thank you.
Yeah. And so the planning board spent, Dave, how many meetings on this? Countless hours of my life that I will never get back. And on this, and carefully considered different parts of this ordinance to make sure that we were, in the spirit of the state law, also preserving and encouraging the types of housing that we would want throughout the city. And I understand that those might be more expensive types of housing, but they're also housing that will last for a longer period of time. I can say that we have had countless issues at mobile home parks because of things like a poured slab, which is why we have things in this ordinance like putting in a frost wall, because people's homes have been quite literally destroyed in parts of these mobile home parks and they can't move them and pour a new slab because that creates a whole nother issue. So those were some of the types of things that we're trying to prohibit here by the way that we wrote this ordinance. I think we put a lot of thought and effort into it, and I think that it should be voted on as it was written and presented to you, and as you voted on it last time. And if issues come up down the road, we can revisit the ordinance then. But I think the ordinance that was presented was the ordinance that the planning board worked on. I mean, based off of the meetings that we've had, I think that that is pretty much the compromises and settlements that we're going to get. And I don't know that anything different will come back to you. The code enforcement officer was at every single one of our meetings. He knew about the language. And only one developer ever showed up. So we had probably half a dozen public meetings with one developer coming up. So my biggest concern, I think, is that by doing these types of changes after the planning board has had a public hearing and decided on language to send to you all, that just undermines the work of the board and our credibility, and it just creates a system where developers can then go behind the public meeting to create changes that they want. And that is not what the planning board exists for. So that's my thoughts and 2 cents on the matter.
Thank you. Okay. Any, Councilor Gilly?
Was there some information that was disseminated that the rest of us didn't get? Because that's what I was also hearing, and that is a concern of mine. So what information was that we don't have that somebody else does?
Well, that's my fault. I just wanted to make sure that somebody on the council knew that Dan and I had been talking about this. So I can give you all copies, but I can give you all copies, but Samantha's asking you not to deal with this, so it's, I was in all those meetings too, so I would be perfectly happy not to deal with this anymore, but I think we will hear from developers after you adopt this language. If you'd like a copy, I can give it to you.
If it's moved,
I would, my vote would be to proceed with the language as it was presented to us at the planning board, I think we should respect the work the planning board did, and and move forward. And if there are other requests, they can be formally sent. But I agree with what Samantha said about following the process, and so I'd like to respect that.
Okay. With that, any other, yes?
Nick Isgrove. On.
Yeah.
Nick Isgrove, Ward 4. I'm only here. It sounds like things are going to go probably the way I would want them to, but I don't know how everyone's going to vote. So I would just encourage you to keep moving forward with the language as proposed. The reality is, look, developers want to come here and make money, and that's great, but we have, our job is to protect the residents here, their property values, the city, the services, all these things that we've been talking about. So I think they did a great job, and I would just encourage you to move forward and vote on it as is as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Anyone online have any questions or comments on this? All right. Again, final call, councilors? Seeing none, can I get a roll call, please? Sorry, roll call anyway. Sorry, everything's roll call tonight.
Counselor Billy?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Herard?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to Order 107, 2025.
No, we are.
I checked it off.
Appropriation of municipal and school operating budgets for the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Move to adopt.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, thank you. Cornell, if you wouldn't mind
Sure.
catching us up to speed from where we left off 2 weeks ago, that would be awesome.
Yes, since your last meeting, a couple things have occurred. One is, in doing some double checking of the numbers, the finance director discovered that we've been carrying the TIF expenses in two places, so it's counted twice. Once in the city non-operating costs and the other in the expense for TIFs. So that means we can adjust the revenue and expenses. And since this is a very positive discovery, I'm recommending that you reduce the amount that you use for unassigned fund balance to reduce the tax commitment from $2.45 million to $1.75 million. The other item that occurred is we got a letter from Delta Ambulance. It was rather a long letter, but the gist of it, I think, is that regardless of whatever decision the city makes, whether it's to go with Delta or to go with your own fire department services to provide the third ambulance service, there's going to be a cost. And I'm recommending that you put $200,000 into the budget and give time. The last letter from the previous letter from Delta said they needed 3 months or so to study the issue, to collect the data, and come up with a solution for it. Take the time for a solution. The way it's proposed, you're not voting on hiring any EMS staff for the fire department. You're not making a decision to hire Delta. You're just giving yourself some time to study the issue. When we do come up with a solution, it will come back to the council for a decision on how to implement the change. So it's a $200,000 line to set aside to study the solution. No decision made on hiring. So with those two changes, looking at the estimated mill rate, that drops the city's tax commitment to under 1%, to a 0.64%, which would raise the mill rate 14 cents, and the median home value would increase about $200. And in order to accomplish those things, you'd need three motions: one to reduce the unassigned fund balance, one to add the 200,000 because it's not in the current order, and then you'd need a motion to adopt the order as amended. So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. So simply to recap, so we found an error which allows us to reduce the use of our fund balance from 2.4 to $1.75 million, which is fantastic. In doing that, that brings us to a flat budget for this year, right? There would be no increase in the tax commitment to the citizens. Is that correct?
It's a modest increase. Right now it's at 0.64.
But that's with the ambulances, right? So it's with the 200,000 is what brings us from $20 to 20.14.
Oh, okay.
Right. So we got to a flat budget. The administration's recommendation is that any EMS solution is going to cost us money, and the recommendation is to put $200,000 into the budget, which would then take the current mill rate from $20 to $20.14. Correct? Yes. Okay. All right. And go.
Just for some context, last meeting we were talking about an increase in the mill rate of 64 cents. Right, so that would.
It's now 14 cents.
Now it's 14 cents. Right. I just want to take this opportunity also to mention that I also got my tax bill this week, and there's a difference between the value of your house and the taxes you pay, and I think that's important to remember. The revaluation has to do with how the total amount of tax that needs to be raised is divided, and divided fairly among all of the property owners. And the increases in your taxes are driven by budget increases, which is what we're talking about here. So don't panic just yet. The mill rate is likely to go down because property values have increased, right? So I just wanted to put that out there.
I want to just make clear that nobody in this city received a tax bill this week. Okay.
I misspoke on
so what we received was the change in assessment, okay, which is completely different than a bill, right? This is a notification of the cost or the value of your home.
Assessed value.
So. Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I have a question before you go on to the next.
Okay, please.
He talks about Debbie Berthew, Ward 2.
Thank you.
You said $200,000 needs to be set aside to what, research data? $200,000 to research data? To research the data? Is that what the $200,000 is for? I'm just asking.
It's to look at the services that Delta can provide by looking at the number of calls that they're going to Augusta. Last week it was 10. It seems to be going up. But just looking at the data and how often Delta is being called for mutual aid. And in the letter, Delta mentioned that if we continue with mutual aid, there's going to be a fee. So we're going to be charged,
Who's we?
the city of Waterville,
Okay.
when we call Delta to help us because we're on 2 calls already. So it's the 3rd ambulance issue. So there's going to be a cost. I don't know what that cost is going to be. We have a general idea of if we had 4 people, it's roughly $200,000 if you start in the fall and phase it in. I don't know what Delta's fee is, but they charge $35 per capita right now, and it's my understanding that's going to go up. So there is a fee. We don't know what it is. There's going to be a service provided at a cost to either we'd pay to Delta or the city fire department. We just need time to study that and come up with a solution.
And who is going to study it?
Administration, fire department, Delta.
And that will be in 3 months, within 3 months?
Well, Delta, this letter that they gave us one before where we had had a meeting with them, and they talked about, well, maybe we could do some day service, staff and ambulance in Waterville during the day, 7 days a week. And it was mentioned it'd be a few $100,000. And then they told us, on second thought, we're not equipped right now to be able to do that. So that's when we came back and said, Delta can't do it. We need to consider having the fire department do it. And then they sent this recent letter that basically said there's going to be a cost. And so what I'm saying is there's a cost, there's an issue, let's work on it, take some time, but set money aside so when we do have a solution and the council votes, there's money set aside to do it.
I just think $200,000 is a lot of money to
Right.
collect data, but
No,
It's
no, no,
not-
no.
It's not
That's
for
not what
data.
it is.
It's for whatever the solution is, right? So whatever the best, the outcome, right? Like, it's to pay for the outcome.
It's
There's
to-
no cost for us to do this.
okay, go
thing.
ahead.
Well, yeah, so the cost, the $200,000 would be the cost either of hiring 4 EMS, that's the net cost of hiring 4 EMS personnel and having an ambulance on for 12 hours a day, or having Delta provide the service. The studying itself is not, there's no cost to that. That's going to be done. Yeah.
I misunderstood.
No, you're
thank
fine.
you. Yeah.
That's fine, yeah.
I'm a senior.
No. Okay, any comments, any other additional? Okay, well,
Oh, looks like Chief Ross wants to speak.
Is it okay if I speak now?
sure.
I just wanted to, if I could, just give a little bit of information. There's this thought out there that Delta is free, and if they covered our city, it wouldn't cost us anything. So the net cost of EMS services in fiscal year '25 for the Waterville Fire Department was $371,000. That's the net cost of what EMS costs the city of Waterville. If Delta was to cover the city of Waterville at $30 per head, because some towns pay $30 a head, some pay $35. At $30 a head, it would have cost Delta $504,000 to cover EMS services in the city of Waterville this year. At $35 a head is $588,000. So we are quite a bit cheaper than Delta. I think we also provide a pretty awesome service. Moving forward, in fiscal year '26, with no personnel added to the budget, our cost of EMS is $496,339 for the city of Waterville. When I sat down with the director of Delta, they are going up. He expects it to double, if not more. So if we just took $60 per head, which is what is a low end of it, EMS services if Delta provided them to the city and the fire department did not. It's $1.008 million for the Delta to cover the city of Waterville. At $65 a head, it's $1.092 million. And there's talk of them possibly being at $70 per head, that's $1.176 million. So if we were to add 4 personnel this year, that cost is $703,339. So regardless of, there's this thought out there that Delta is cheaper because we don't pay for their services, but if they were to cover the city of Waterville, it is much more expensive than our fire department covering the city with EMS services. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for the chief.
Councilor Brito, thank you.
Yeah.
You're muted, Flavia. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So I guess my question was, okay, sorry, I got out of breath. So I guess my question was, Chief, actually, let me come back to my question. I will come back to it. Sorry.
Okay. I'll be here.
I'll come back to it. Okay.
Sir.
Hey, Mayor, there is somebody with their hand raised online.
Okay, we'll get to them next. Thank you.
Scott Beal, Ward 6. Do we have anything in writing from Delta that specifies an exact cost that they would charge us for future service?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's the point I want to make. I read the Sydney study, and they had some dollar figures that were thrown out by the chief. And they may be accurate, they may not, but that was also for a rural region with a pretty big geographic space. And I don't know whether that's going to translate more or less for Waterville. So I think we should wait and see what the cost is going to be. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Anna Holdener, Ward 7. I live in one of the poorest wards in the city of Waterville, and we often have the fire department down in our neighborhood for various reasons, and I appreciate them so very much. And Chief Frost is absolutely wonderful. With that being said, again, I live in one of the poorest wards here in Waterville. With the new reevaluation, even though it is not a tax bill, as we are continuing to look at the budget, and with the increases that are on the table, it is going to put a big strain on a lot of folks. We have a lot of seniors. We have a lot of folks who own their own homes but are on fixed incomes. And I think that when Inland announced and then shut down, it created a lot of panic here in Waterville. And my experience in social services is that when you're in that panic mode, you don't make major decisions. You slow down, you look at the information, you take time to assess, to figure out, what is that long-term best interest. So as an advocate for my community, I'd highly recommend just kind of slowing down, taking time. Let's look at the study, look at the numbers. How many calls have been going out right now? How many calls are going out within the next couple of months? Because it will significantly impact the community, especially in Ward 7, honestly. So that's it.
Thank you. Councilor Green?
And I think that's why this is a great compromise. We're recognizing that there's an increase in service needed. We're recognizing that there's a cost to it. And we're taking some time to study that and look at some solutions that are going to be sustainable as opposed to keep doing what we're doing. Chief Frost, again, You do a wonderful job. You have a fantastic department. You've got a call response that's probably the envy of many larger communities in the state and in the country. I mean, it's kind of extraordinary. But we've got to shift the way we think about how we deliver this service, and that's what it is about. It is not about supporting one department over another or talking about revenue generating. It's about making sure that as a region, as a community, we're looking after our town, but we're working with our partners in the community because we are in this together. There's no question about that. So I'm in favor of this amendment, and I think it will give us the time to come up with the right solution, and I think it's the right thing to do. So I'm ready to move that we that we adopt.
Councilor Harrod. Oh, yeah, sorry, somebody online. I apologize. Sorry, I'm sorry, we'll get you. Person online first. Huh?
There's no amendment on the floor yet.
Yeah, that's fine. We're just talking about the budget.
Nancy, can you hear us okay?
I can.
All right. Good evening,
Yep,
Nancy.
Nancy Sanford, Ward 1. And I would just like to say that I think that more information is needed, so I support that. I also want to underline what Karen Heck had said and has been talked about before when talking about this particular issue and others, but I'd like to see, as part of the information gathering, talk about and talking to our partners in our region about regionalization. You know, that term gets bantied around a lot. I'm not sure that we're very good at going the next step from talking about it. And so I would hope that we could make some movement towards actual regionalization. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Councilor Harrod, then you, Nick. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, one thing we all obviously agree on is that there is a need here. So for me, if we all recognize the need, I don't understand. Taking more time, to me, puts the city at risk, puts the residents at risk, and it also adds more burden to the staff that we already have in Waterville. So I don't understand why we would not invest in them as opposed to waiting, even if Delta comes back with a cost that's even a little bit less than what we could pay our own staff. I don't know why we would even consider that, to be quite honest. And with that, I'd also like, if the chief wouldn't mind, maybe giving us a recap of the last couple weeks, like just to give us an idea.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely, I can. We've had 481 calls for service in the last 4 weeks. 346 of those are EMS calls. We've run to Augusta Augusta and RFGH 33 times, primarily Augusta. We have had 101 stacked calls, which means that we have 2 ambulances out at the same exact time in the last 4 weeks. And we have asked Delta to respond to the city 12 times in the last 4 weeks. When I sat down with the director of Delta, that is a pretty large increase over the last 4 weeks. And he did say, as Cornell stated, if that continues, they're going to have to look at charging us for service, because they do charge other communities, and the other communities are already starting to get upset that we're starting to take from their ambulance service, which I totally understand that. I would do the same thing if I was in his shoes. So So that's what the last 4 weeks have looked at, we have looked at. That is, I mean, obviously, everything in our service goes in ebbs and flows. Sometimes in the summertime, it's less busy than it is in the wintertime. Usually wintertime, we pick up tremendously with flu season and sicknesses rolling around. But this summer so far has been very busy. Does that mean that it's going to stay that way? I don't know. But we have been very busy. You know, right now, we've dropped 3 calls since we've been here tonight, and we got a truck headed to Augusta right now. The trucks heading to Augusta is the really big concern of mine, because that does pull the truck out of this area for a while, so.
Chief, on average, you said 33, was it 33 times this month that you've gone to Augusta?
In the last 4 weeks.
In the last
Since
4
we-
weeks?
Yeah, so I think you guys I sent Cornell,
Yeah.
I think, so it's 33 times to Augusta and RFGH.
On, I don't know if you know, they've had this information, but on average, how long in those 33 times you've been there, how long?
How
has
long
the
is our
turnover?
transport time?
Yeah.
It's about an hour, but I
Okay.
can pull the exact number for you.
Like an hour in total?
An
or-
hour turnaround time.
Okay.
So it's, I ran the numbers. It was like 24 minutes from call time to when we land on their doorstep to when we treat them and get them in our ambulance. And then it's another hour on top of that turnaround, because it's 20 minutes down, usually 20 minutes or so at the ER, and then 20 minutes back.
Okay.
Trips to Augusta was the, I guess, the focal point of the requirement, or the request, I should say, to add the 3rd ambulance. And when we started this back in April, and we were presented with the 3rd ambulance, and we've gotten updated data. Every time we ask, there's something different. And even tonight, we've gotten different data and different numbers that are not like on paper. They're on your paper, which is fine. But when the initial concern came in, it was estimated that we were going to Augusta 23% of the time, just about 975 calls, roughly in that area. The last 4 weeks since Inland has closed, right? Keep an eye on the data that you send to Cornell. We are at 9.5%, so far less than what we projected, which is fantastic.
It
right?
is.
Like,
I
so,
agree.
Again, I want to if we're all talking now, I just want to. That's the one. That was what started this. Was the going to the Augusta and the time that was going to take and things of that nature and what we anticipated. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we got that information. Like, and this is the part of data collection, right? Like, so we're talking about the addition of services. We're talking about the number of calls, the number of stat calls, when Delta might be available. We're talking about adding additional staff to the city. Again, you're right, Delta is no longer a free service, and the folks that are they're just not, right? And they're charging all of the other municipalities, a fee. We don't know what that's going to look like. Obviously, we have a service here, so would we anticipate that it's going to be a full service cost that they pay, that the other municipalities pay? Probably not, based on the amount of work that they're doing. I know that I spent the better part of 3 hours yesterday at the fire department, met with Battalion Chief Cody, yourself.
It was a late night, wasn't it, sir?
It was. It's fine. Like it's all good. It's an important conversation, and I'm happy to have it for as long as that we need to have it. One of the other things, in my discussion with Battalion Chief Cody, is that the county is getting ready to do an assessment. And I guess I'm going to just read your email that you had sent. I asked for some information. The jurisdiction will meet in teams and feed quantitative and qualitative data into the assessment and scope the assessment countywide, and it's crucial that all jurisdictions participate. The results are then submitted to the state and are used to determine needs. And I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I very well may be, but I believe that was coming up in October. We should have results maybe in November. I don't.
When I met with Kennebec EMA a few weeks back, they said they're looking at starting probably September, October.
Okay.
It's going to be 4 weeks. They'll meet with all the department heads from all the jurisdictions in Kennebec County and then come up with it. So I mean, we're looking at November probably.
Okay, all right, that's fine. You know, and one of the things, and I said this to you both, there is no doubt that that you're busy, and we spoke about a lot of things. Like, there are a lot of options, and there's a lot of solutions, right? Like, you know, and you know I mentioned it to the battalion chief yesterday. I said, you know, right now we're contracted to hire 24-hour shifts. You know, one of the things that I've asked you for is the data for the calls and the times in which the calls come in. We now have, you know, and I said, well, give me a month before, and we now have a month post closure. Let us take a look at where that volume is. And what do we need? Do we need a 24-hour service? Do we need a 12-hour service? Do we need pockets of time? Like, the city's tied from a Waterville Fire Department perspective is that we can only hire 24 hours. We can't hire shorter shifts. But we don't know that yet. So that's the only concern that I have is again, just finding out what truly that we need. It changes frequently, so what we need today and what this council could vote on today might not be what we need in 3 weeks. And, you know, what happens then? Like, you know, like, so I think the longer that we can, I don't want to say wait, but to collect data to make a more informed decision, the better that decision will be, the more solid of a decision that will be. And I think that's what's important. So that's all I have to say at this point. Councilor Green.
I just want to, you know, bring us back to this question of we're living in a region with 4 towns, all 3 of the 4, or 2 of the 4 are serviced by Delta. We're not alone in this situation. And I think that this is an opportunity that we should take to take the baby step towards looking at how we as a region deliver services to the people who are moving back and forth from one town to another all the time in a way that's sustainable for everyone. And I appreciate the comment about making decisions in an emergency crisis mode. We're not just talking about 4 personnel. You know, we're talking about another large piece of equipment to service and many other things that go along with it. So let's be cautious. Let's put the money in the budget in order to make the right choice when we have a chance to examine the data and talk to our partners, which we need to do.
Councilor DeBrito has had her hand raised.
Okay, Councilor DeBrito.
Thank you. So my question was just a quick question. It was the total amount of the 4 staff for the fire chief. So what was the total amount of that?
207.
207.
207.
207 was the net.
Net cost.
Yeah, that was net cost. We estimated a revenue stream for loaded miles going to Augusta. And that was also, we had extra training in there and maintenance for the trucks.
Okay, and my understanding is that 200,000 is already added to this budget that we're about to vote on today. Is that correct?
No, the 200,000 is to be added hopefully by a motion approved by the council here, and then the budget order needs to be adopted as amended once you get there.
Okay, so we're just waiting on that motion to add the 200,000. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I believe Isgro had
Yeah.
wanted to talk.
Nick, thank you. Apologize, we went outside, please.
Nick Isgro, Ward 4. A lot of talk about trucks and number of trucks and Delta costing money. It's important to remember, a few years ago, we had no trucks on the road. And part of the reason Delta has had to change their model is because two towns that were part of their large service and financial scheme decided to get a bunch of trucks and hired a lot of their people too. So that completely threw their financial model in disarray. So we have to remember like the history of this thing as we're talking about what it looks like moving forward, because there could be a lot more options on the table. I'd just like to comment, like the question was raised, like if we were to get a proposal from Delta that was cheaper, but we could pay Waterville, why would we pay Delta cheaper? Well, because Waterville taxpayers don't really exist just to pay people to work for the city of Waterville. That's why. I'll just leave you this quick story. Really nice family moved to Waterville about 4 years ago. And they moved here specifically because they wanted their kids at our school. They loved our youth sports programs. And they've been a great addition to the community, bought a nice house, totally remodeled the whole thing. Saw him a couple weeks ago, and the father said to me, house will be on the market in a couple weeks. Really? Why? You were so anxious to get in here. What happened? Yeah, we didn't realize how crazy things were going to get. We didn't realize how much the taxes were going to go up and what the attitude was towards the taxpayers when it comes to spending here. But these are the kinds of families we want moving here. And I realize sometimes people view these stories as anecdotal. They're not. And it's not that these people don't love Waterville. It's that there just comes a point, I mean, I'll probably be here till I die, but there comes a point for some people where that's not the case. They're not living in some family home or have that kind of history here. So I would encourage you to just keep moving forward as you have been discussing. I hope you do and hope you find a good solution. Thanks.
Thanks, Nick. What's that? Sure.
I wonder if I can move things along by making the first motion to reduce the use of unassigned fund balance by $700,000, from which would, so we would go from $2,450,000 of unassigned fund balance to $1,750,000 in the budget as a starting point for moving the budget along. So I'm making that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. And discussion? Seeing none, can I get a roll call?
Counselor Gilly,
Reluctantly, yes.
Counselor DeBrito, Counselor DeBrito,
You're on mute, Flavia, sorry.
Counselor DeBrito, you're on mute.
Yes.
Counselor
Actually, no. Actually, hold on a second. With this one, is it the total? How much are we moving out? Is it a 200,000 exact? Oh, it's 700,000.
Yes. The motion that's on the table is from Cornell's memo. Motion number 1, to reduce the use of our unassigned balance by $700,000 from the amount of $2,450,000 to $1.75 million for the fiscal year 26 budget.
Okay, yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Herrard?
Yep.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Well, I mean, the motions are out there, like, so I can't make any
Well,
motion, so if any counselor wants to make a motion,
I'll-
please.
I'll move on to number 2 and move that we add $200,000 to the FY '26 budget for EMS coverage. Either to be provided by our own fire department or another arrangement with Delta.
Second.
I got a question. Would we be able to amend this one to the 207 instead of the flat 200?
You can amend, you can make any amendment that you would like to make.
Okay, I'll make the amendment after this one then.
Okay. All right. Any discussion? Sorry, we had yeah, first and a second, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. All right, so discussion with the 200. Councilor Green, like hearing Flavia, do you want to make an amendment to your to add 207,000?
I'm happy to amend that to 207,000, yes.
Do I have a second on, no, huh?
Second.
Yeah, yeah. We got one? Thank you. All those in favor as amended?
Hello. Can people hear me? Be careful when opening the overhead. This is Thomas Klebeck. To help keep the aircraft comfortable for our next customers, please open your overhead air vents. If you're sitting next to a window, please close the window as well.
We can definitely hear you.
We can definitely hear you.
Klepek, you got to mute.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So we had a second, right?
Okay. So can I get a roll call for motion 2, which has been amended to add 207,000 to the fiscal year 26 budget for a third ambulance EMS coverage?
Just a quick question in regards to the 207. If we, for whatever reason, come back, you know, whenever we come back with this and we cannot come to an agreement, what happens to that $207,000? Does it go back in the general fund? Perfect. I vote yes.
Okay.
That one's good, Dee. Next.
Okay. Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepek?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Herrard?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I would like to entertain a motion to adopt Order 107-225 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just to be clear, because I'm not in the best of places, this is the entire budget, correct?
That is correct. This is the entire budget, reducing the use of our fund balance and the motion to add $207,000 for future EMS costs.
Can you answer one other question? What happened, just so that I know what I'm voting on, what happened to the 3 versus 5% COLA for the non-union employees?
That was removed out of the last budget order that we made, so that that remains the same as it was in the last meeting.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. You're very welcome. Okay. Dee, may I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Counselor Gilly,
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Before I vote, I just want to say thank you to all of my counselors. I'm proud of all of you.
We still need to vote.
What's your vote?
Did I not say yes? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum,
Yes.
Counselor Harard.
No.
All right. We have a budget. So thank you very much, everybody. Okay. Moving on to,
I'm not a city resident, but I'm a 43-year veteran of the fire department. Can I just say something for history-wise?
you can,
Okay,
sure,
thank you.
Scott, I will absolutely allow you. Thank you.
My name is Scott Holst. I spent 43 years in the fire service, the last 30 plus still in Waterville. All right, I've lived this life. I've lived this Delta life and I lived this Waterville life. I disagree with Mr. Isgro. Delta was going under. And trust me, I spent 20 some odd years on history. You have a history book that I had put together for you so you could read it. It's very informational. Delta was going under. Waterville did not start an ambulance service. Winslow did not start an ambulance service to run Delta out of town. They had to do something. And I know, Mr. Morris, you were there on the council at the same time with Mr. Coelho and everybody else. Delta right now is finally sustaining themselves. They had 22 communities that they were covering. They're down to 14 because they cannot cover the area. The other communities are leaving Delta because they could not cover. Plus, they have all this money now they're asking per capita. And yes, Oakland bought an ambulance, waiting in the wings. Fairfield's waiting in the wings because they have no idea what's going to happen to Delta down the road. All right? Delta lost employees way before COVID because they were leaving to Northern Light, Augusta, Bangor, because the money and the benefits. I've researched this. I sat on the West River Road with a gentleman in his 50s who had a broken femur, and we could not get him to the hospital because I had to wait for Delta. 50 minutes I waited for Delta. Appleton Apartments, right behind the fire station. I sat for 40 minutes with a person, code 99, waiting for Delta. Delta was having a hard time back then. COVID hits. What happens? The state mandates that every EMS provider get a vaccine. So what happens? Everybody leaves in the EMS service because they didn't want the vaccination. You know, I took it because I wanted to stay. All this stuff is gearing up inside of me. Delta is not free no more. They don't get subsidized by 3 hospitals like they did back in the 70s and 80s. Seton shuts down. Thayer and Inland picks up the tab. All right? Now Inland shuts down. What's Thayer going to do? So that's why they had to start charts. I'm sorry, I'm very emotional about this.
Listen,
I really thank you for letting me speak.
You're very welcome. I
know?
appreciate you. I appreciate your history. The book is fantastic.
Yes.
And it is a good read. There's a lot of great information, not only in the book, but just in walking around the department. So I appreciate you.
The thing is,
yeah,
you know, it needed to be done.
Yeah.
And I thank the councilman and
Thank you.
And especially, you know, those who were on at the time for saving the citizens of Waterville. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
All right. Moving on to new business, Resolution 12025.
Authorize the issuance of a liquor license to Wild Clover Cafe and Market, LLC, DBA Wild Clover Cafe and Market.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is anyone from Wild Clover here? No. Okay. Any discussion from the council? Seeing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Okay. Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepek,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum,
Yes.
Counselor Harard.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to Resolution 121, 2025.
Approve the amended use of South End Capital Improvement Account Policy.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Cornell, would you mind just giving us a quick overview?
Sure. This came up a little while ago when you had a request for funding for the South End Summer Rec Program.
Yes.
And the woman brought up that they'd like to make a donation from the fund to the program, and the way the wording of the policy is, it doesn't really allow that. So we need to amend the policy. Also, we noticed while doing that the funding from this comes from tax-acquired property, and tax-acquired property process is completely changed. So that needs to be eliminated, and then add the one line that allows a donation for the summer rec program.
I do see we have the president of the South End Neighborhood Association. Anna, do you want to come up and speak to this at all? I appreciate it.
Anna Holdener, Ward 7. I'm the chair of the South End Neighborhood Association. This fund was initially signed in 2011, I believe, and it was to help with some of the projects in the South End, kind of to show that partnership between the city and then the neighborhood association. And we've used it very sparingly for major neighborhood projects. So within my time as the Senate chair, we've used it to defray costs of some of our neighborhood cleanups. We used it to improve our community garden in the South End. And this is actually something that we talked about. I spoke with the previous city manager about expanding it to programming because state law has changed. So there's not going to be the kind of deposits that were being made, but also because our own needs as a neighborhood association have also increased. We've expanded program throughout the years, and adding programming into the language of this fund would be huge for the neighborhood association. So.
Okay. All right. Any counselors have any questions with regard to this particular motion or amendment, resolution?
I have a question.
Yes.
So where's the funds where's the funds coming out of again?
Previously, the funds were deposited into the account based on sales of tax-acquired property that were in the South End. And then it was any other source of income that the council may choose to deposit funds. That's how the policy was originally written. But we don't have that. The law has changed about the sale, the taxes or the sale of tax-acquired property. So there isn't going to be any additional funds via that method any longer.
So where's the funds going to come from now?
Well, at this point, there is. Oh, okay, yeah, you want to speak to that? Like, that's fine. Right now, there isn't anything on the books for it to be funded. So this would be basically just to dwindle this account down.
Right. So as it was discussed with the previous city manager, right now there's no method of deposit into the funds, at least nothing that has been developed. We had talked about he wanted to look into that. So I don't know where that fell, honestly. But as of right now, it would just be to kind of spend down the funds that are there unless the council makes a determination about how to continue to make some deposits into that fund. So.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. D, roll call, please.
Roll call. Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepek?
Yeah.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Harard?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to Resolution 122, 2025.
Approve contract extension for city solicitor.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. Any, you want to give just a brief overview, I guess?
Well, there's a changed and amended contract, so you need to move as amended, right? They have it.
Amend by substitution?
Amend by substitution.
All right. I move that we amend by substitution.
Second.
Can I get a roll call for that, please?
Counselor Gilly,
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepek,
Yep.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum,
Yes.
Counselor Harard,
Yes.
And can we move as amended, please? Can I have a motion to move as amended?
Motion to move as amended.
Second.
Thank you. And any discussion with regard to the amendment? Seeing none. D, roll call, please.
Counselor Gilly,
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepek,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum,
Yes.
Counselor Harard,
Yes.
All right, thank you. Moving on to Resolution 123, 2025.
approve airport terminal building lease with 15 Sims.
Move to adopt.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. Randy, how are you this evening?
Randall.
Hello all. So VX Sims is a new and up-and-coming company, and they approached me wanting to put in a quite robust and unique flight simulator at the airport. We have a vacant room. This simulator is actually something that the FAA recognizes as like a legitimate airplane. So you can actually earn time like you're flying a real airplane. So you can do your recertifications, currencies, things like that. You can do the instrument type thing. It is really, really neat. It's like you're sitting in the cockpit of an airplane. So this is kind of an experiment. Right now, the owner of the company is working with UMA and UMO and is working on hiring a few people to kind of run this. So it's something that we're excited about, see where this goes. So we're trying a short-term trial, 6 months, just kind of feel it out, feel them out, let them feel us out, see how it all comes together.
Okay. A lot of feelings.
Yes, there are.
What exactly, who uses this? Like we're going to put this in the building and...
So pilots primarily.
Okay.
So as you all know, winters especially, not always optimal for flying. So this allows somebody to, kind of like a golf simulator, right? They can go in, play golf, even in nasty weather. Same thing for the pilots. But it's also something that we can partner with the schools on, Civil Air Patrol, people who want to be pilots, they can come in. This thing has like a wraparound screen, you got computer monitors all the way around you. You feel the vibration and resistance in the yoke and the rudder pedals, so it's ultra real.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilor Green?
Yeah, I was curious about the lease for $1 and.
So to put it in, so we have a formal lease where they are,
Right.
With us and have to be insured and whatnot. Where this is experimental, there's some overhead costs to them. This is just kind of trying to get them to come in. Let's see where it goes. So that's why it's also only 6 months.
Right.
This is an otherwise vacant room, so it's not costing us anything.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, do you anticipate this as being a revenue generator once the trial period's over?
Yeah, I would foresee that the room would go to our normal market rate after that, and hopefully more
Right.
than one room. His intention, his plan and hope is to grow from there. There are some other things that we have been discussing in terms of more events at the airport, fly-ins, concerts. he has multiple other businesses that he also does. And one of them, for example, that we've been discussing is also like a small catering company, and like cafe type thing. So we're going to see where this goes, see what happens, but this is a short-term trial.
Okay, thank you.
All right. With that, D,
All right,
may I get a roll call, please?
roll call. Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
This sounds very cool. I'm looking forward to trying it out. That's a yes from me.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Herrard?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Moving on to Resolution 124, 2025.
Approve aid agreement with Copia Specialty Contractors, Inc.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. Cornell, you want to, this was added after we met, so you want to just let everybody know what this is about?
Yeah, this just came in right after we met to review the agenda. They apparently need some agreement as part of their insurance to that we'll respond. We respond to emergencies anyway, but they would like it in writing, so the city attorney suggested having the council give it their blessing. So that's why it's on.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the council? All right, D, may I get a roll call, please?
All right. Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Krigbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Herrard?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. All right, moving on to Order 125, 2025.
Approving the Washington Heights Municipal Tax Increment Financing District and related development plan.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Thank you. And this is an order. This is the first of two votes on this particular order. Any discussion?
Basically, what I said earlier. I think it's good for Waterville.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll reiterate what I said as well. I do have concerns that Phase 2 hasn't been approved yet. What happens around that if it's not approved by the planning board?
Sure, please, thank you.
As I've said for a couple of months, almost a year now, it's a risk that we're taking. This is a partnership that we're looking to do with Waterville. There's definitely risks on both ends. It's as big of a risk for us, as I had mentioned, to only do Phase 1. It doesn't work for us financially. So, everybody that's looked at this project, from engineering to other developers that I look to for advice, have told me the risk of only doing 26. And financially, it doesn't work for us. But we believe that once we drop a shovel in the ground, the people of Waterville, visiting Waterville, see this, planning board sees this, they'll see how great it is for the city. Yes, it is a risk. We're taking the risk, but we believe in this project, and we want Waterville to believe in it as well. We're going to do everything in our power to get everything done. We don't have another choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment? Seeing none, D.
Oh, I would make I'm sorry, I was looking for the hand raised. I just wanted to hear what the other councilors' thoughts were on sort of the precedent that this sets in terms of the tax structure for the future of potential developments in the city. Just thinking about, sustainable revenue streams and
in the near term, as well as the benefits of long-term development.
I think the general idea is that this TIF structure is not the one that we will be using in the future for other developers. It is not the guidelines that we're going to be following for other future TIF grants, I suppose, or how we're going to structure them in the future. This is not the new standard. This is going to be kind of its own thing, especially because of the current economic kind of weather we're dealing with at the moment. It requires a slightly different approach. And in the future, this is not the standard.
And how are we going to, how does the council plan to ensure what the future vision these TIF structures will be? What was the conversation?
I mean, I think I think it's an individual basis. I mean, not everything's going to be the same. Things are going to be different. So we have to approach each and every single request, individually, and see where it goes from there. As I said previously, I mean, it's advantageous for both. Obviously, their business, they want to make money. Waterville has a housing issue. There's going to be quality, comfortable, safe housing. They're also doing a whole lot of work to a, kind of a garbage pit of an area in Waterville. Otherwise, would, as Councillor Krigbaum stated, would be vacant for the next, X amount of years because of the fact that it's in such, for lack of a better word, it's in a terrible state. So, going forward, I think that, we continue to do what we do, but we just, of course, we have to approach things differently. Not everything's going to be the same.
Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned about the precedent this sets. I think we need to send a message that when Waterville, and I understand this has been under discussion for a long time, and it didn't follow necessarily a process that we're going to follow in the future. But my view is that when Waterville enters into a TIF agreement with a private developer, there needs to be tax revenue for the city, and it needs to check the boxes that we need for our development, including not just tax revenue, but also jobs, and yes, housing as well. But I think, we have to signal that we are not going to do this for every private developer that comes along.
Okay. Mr. Beal.
So that was an expression of support?
No, that's explaining why I can't support this.
Why you cannot?
I can't because I'm concerned about the precedent it sets, and I think there are some issues with this in future. I do not think we should be approving a TIF for a project that hasn't fully received planning board approval.
Sir.
Scott
I got a question.
1 second, Flavia. Go ahead, Scott.
Scott Beal, Ward 6. Did the term partnership was mentioned. Did the city or anyone from the city or the council get a chance to look at the financial high-level numbers associated with the project?
I do believe Christine has, yes.
So this TIF makes the difference between a go and a no-go from...
Yeah, well, you can speak there, too. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Scott. Thank you.
Is it on? I did evaluate the numbers, and based upon the numbers that I saw, they do need the TIF to make the project feasible. I disagree that they're getting more back than other developers have, because if you look at the bottom line, that is an incorrect statement. They're getting more back up front. But when it gets to the end of the TIF, we are collecting more money than we're doing from a lot of other CEA agreements that we already have in place. But it's because of the funding mechanism, looking at what they need for the cash flow to get up and get going on the front end of it. And I've seen a lot of different TIFs. Some don't need that. They need a steadiness over time, and they can put more into the city coffers right from the get-go. Some of them barely put anything in, and that's okay because they serve low-income replacement housing, fix slum-blighted conditions, improve neighborhoods, create other opportunities. So I agree with some of the councilor's statements that each one needs to be looked at individually. The financials need to be examined based upon those projects. And, you know, the long-term results. Does it benefit the city in an effective manner? Does it fill a need that the city has with housing? You know, the mills are the same thing. They're private development, but they fill a need because they sat there empty. And they were very run down, and they're providing housing and other things. So you know, and I understand the concerns with creating a tax base for the citizens of Waterville and looking at that. I think it needs to be a balanced approach, and I think it's very good that the council takes into consider all aspects. But on this particular one, I believe what they requested is needed to complete the project.
Thank you. Okay.
That's helpful. Thank you.
All right, Flavia, I apologize. Thank you.
No problem. Christina just answered my question. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. All right, with that, Dee, can I get a roll call, please?
Roll call. Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes, I'm going to vote yes.
Counselor Green?
No.
Counselor Krigbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Herard?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to Order 126, 2025.
Accept purchase of a mass spectrometer for the Waterville Fire Department.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Thank you. This sounds Ghostbustery, Chief.
It surely is. It's like you see on NCIS on TV, the mass spectrometer, but in a smaller model. As most of you know, the Waterville Fire Department we're part of a regional hazmat team with Augusta. We're the decon strike. We are the strike team, and Augusta is our decon team. This funding is coming through MEMA for $48,000 for a mass spectrometer. Basically, when we go out and we have a powdered substance or any type of substance, this mass spectrometer can tell us what it is. There is only 2 in the entire state of Maine right now. So if we need one, we have to call DEP or another, and it could take forever to get them here. This will hopefully speed up hazmat calls because they're very long. So what I'm looking to do is we have to purchase it. So I'd like to purchase it out of our cost recovery account, and then once we purchase it, we get invoiced back from MEMA, and we put the money right back in the account. And you'll see in the packet that we have signed from Kennebec County EMA that once we purchase it, they've approved it. We just got to give them the invoice, and they'll send the money right back to us.
Perfect. Any questions from the council? City Clerk?
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
Hey, Chief. It's pretty cool that you're getting a mass spectrometer. I had meant to ask you about this when I talked to you earlier. When you say that there's 2 in the state, you're talking about 2 within municipal hands.
No, one is through DEP, and maybe South Portland's hazmat team has one.
I see for that purpose. Good.
Yep.
There is a mass spectrometer on campus at Colby. I wonder if you had ever spoken to anyone there about accessing that machine in the task. What sort of mass spectrometer is it?
This is a ragaku, ravioli, something like that. It's a handheld one. I watch the craziest TV shows, and I love to watch the one where they stop people at the border. It's the handheld one that you can put a little sample on this little small handheld one, and it tells you what the sample is, and that's what this one is.
Wow.
It's
That is
very, very small.
Exciting. Yeah, that's exciting. Cool. Well, that's great. I think that I'm in support of this.
Okay.
Exciting.
Okay. D.
All right.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Gilly,
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito, Counselor DeBrito,
You're muted, Flavia. I'm sorry.
muted.
Okay. Moving on.
Okay. Counselor Klepak,
Yeah.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Craigbaum,
Yes.
Counselor Harard,
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to Order 127, 2025.
acceptance of Department of Public Safety grant.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Chief.
Yeah, so this was a grant that Deputy Chief Dan Brown and the major from the police department, they worked together on this grant in collaboration. This grant will cover 100 employees for the city of Waterville. So that is for the fire department, full-time call force, that is for the police department, and also for our dispatchers. This is a grant, and you can read inside the product services, but basically, this is for targeted interventions to protect the health and well-being of our first responders and emergency dispatchers. If you read the numbers that I put in the memo, the numbers are kind of staggering. And for the public, I'll read a few of them out loud. But this is all data-driven. Sudden cardiac arrest is a leading cause of line-of-duty deaths among first responders. Factors such as chronic stress, sleep deprivation, exposure to extreme physical exertion contributes to these statistics. Emergency dispatchers face a 69% risk of mental health conditions and a 64% risk of physical health conditions because of the nature of their work. Approximately 30% of all first responders develop a behavioral health condition, such as depression and PTSD, which is much higher than the general population. Conversely, the suicide rate among first responders is much higher than the general population, with estimates of 125 to 300 police officers and 150 firefighters committing suicide annually. That's a terrible number. That is a terrible number. So what this grant is to safeguard the health and longevity and overall well-being of the City of Waterville's dedicated fire, police, and emergency communications personnel through proactive wellness and risk management initiatives. The grant is for a total of $90,570. Basically, this is a mobile. They come to us, and they do on-site diagnostics. They do the diagnostics. They go over the diagnostics with you. What they're trying to do is find any type of cardiovascular issues to try to reduce the risk of heart attacks. They do a whole bunch of lipid tests. Some of the tests are cancer-related because firefighters do have a very high risk of cancer. And they also do a health and performance expert does a mental and health and well-being consult with us. What the goal of this program is to do is to show us and to help us understand where we're at physically and mentally, and then help us get to the right place. It does diagnostic tools for us. It doesn't actually do anything other than that, but it's a wonderful grant. There is, I think, I might be misspoken, but I believe Bangor might have done this a little while ago, something similar. And if you talk to the guys and gals from Bangor, they did find quite a few markers, and they were able to help people out before the fact. So I think that this is a big deal. Sigma On-Site is the company that does the on-site diagnostic stuff. And then after talking to Sarah, I didn't realize that we may have to go out to bid. So I will be bringing something to you at next meeting because this is the only on-site one that I know of. But I will have to do some looking around, but that's who we got the price from anyways. So that's what we got here.
Okay. Any questions? All right. D, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Chief, congratulations. Waterville continues to lead. Waterville Fire Department continues to lead. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. That's a yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Kriegbaum?
Yes.
Counselor Herrard?
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Can I just throw one more thing out there? We had some good news. I talked to you about it last night.
You did. You know what? And I was going to say something, and I don't want you to say it.
What?
I would like Deputy Chief to come up because this is fantastic news. This is great news, and I know that he's worked really hard on this.
Absolutely.
And I'm just want to hear somebody's voice other than yours. So no offense. So yes, with a bit of good news, please, Deputy Chief, enlighten everyone as to what's going down. Yes.
I just want to make sure I'm dialed in here.
Listen, if you got more good news, great, but that's the one we're talking about, yeah.
No, so we were alerted that our community paramedicine funding is going to be released back down from the federal government and back through Maine EMS. So we're very excited that we're able to continue our programming. Essentially at this point, uninterrupted. So we are waiting. I spoke to my contact at Maine EMS, Soliana, who's the community paramedicine coordinator, and hopefully by the end of July, they can encumber the funds from the federal government and get contracts drafted, and then we'll be back right then at some point, hopefully at either the end of July or 1st of August to get that process approved by you folks. So we're very excited. It's a big relief.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you were on the agenda many agendas ago to talk about the paramedicine program. So we will absolutely get that scheduled to get that back because it is a great program and it is fantastic news that we were able to.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I plan on doing a nice overview for you folks so you guys understand what we've been doing and the good work we've been doing in that realm. So
awesome, great, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Mayor.
Thank you. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor, or can I get a roll? We need a roll call, please.
No, we don't.
We don't need a roll call, right?
We don't need a roll call.
Perfect.
Thank you,
everybody.
If anybody wants to stay, I think.